Nigel, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the clean sheet, because there have been a few of them this season, but I'm sure not as many as you would like. How key was that, getting that real resolute performance all over the pitch?
Well, we needed a result, and we are capable, but we've just we've had spells where we've conceded some, soft goals. It was just a good performance for us, and one which came at which was timely for us. It was losing at home at the weekend and losing in the fashion that we did with their winning goal, which was a bit of a mix-up for us. I think it's the players reminded themselves as much as anything. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. But good to get a win on the road.
And I suppose in the last few weeks you've had to make a few more changes, because you've had sort of one or two players missing, and you've had a couple of selection decisions within that. It'd be nice to have that little bit more stability as you had in the first couple of months of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've changed too many things. We've tried to keep a settled formation, and I think for the most part performances haven't been bad, and I think what it's shown is that our reliance on on our forwards to take the chances that they get is pretty high, because I think 2 games we've not scored in, I think it is, I don't know, something like that. We create a reasonable amount of chances, but I don't think we're up there at the top in terms of chances created. So it means, our forwards are under pressure to deliver, but they've continued to do that. So I mean, look, for me it was really very important to get a good result, but in terms of it being a very solid and disciplined performance by the team, that was very it's a good bonus for us. That.
Yeah. And it was obviously a slight tweak in midfield in terms of the personnel and the way that they lined up, but it gives you another string to the bow a little bit, doesn't it? It makes teams have a second thought about knowing exactly how you're going to play. You can change it up a little. Yeah,
I mean, look, it made us, when you play 3 recognised midfield players in a flat 3, clearly you're going to get a bit more protection across the back. But I still think with the players that we have when we're in form and at our best, we are one of our best forms of defence is to attack. Unfortunately, what we've had to deal with in recent weeks is, we've sort of gone backwards a little bit in the sense that we've not defended set plays as well as we have done for a few months. So, but the players proved against West Brom how committed, and not just committed, but they used their own individual strengths in terms of making really good decisions, attacking the ball, but then the second phases as well, or when the bits drop down, we'd always got challenges, and I think that was, sometimes it looks a bit ugly, but that's what you need to do, and I was very pleased for the players in that regard, because I don't have to question their desire on too many occasions. It's happened from time to time, but they responded well collectively, and that's very, very important.
And I always think keeping clean sheets it speaks to the concentration and staying focused for the full 90 minutes, because it's not easy to do that. And I was wondering, having the likes of, obviously Tim Close been in for a couple of games, but having Matty back, those senior heads just to switch on and refocus minds when it's needed, how key can that be?
Well, it gives the team more balanced. I think that's always a very important thing. Look, every player that we have has a role to play, and they have their own strengths, all of them. So I don't want to overplay certain individuals' contributions, because we need everybody to bring something to the team. And the most important thing when, say for instance, results don't go well, what becomes more apparent is the need for shared understanding of what the team needs. So I was just, look, it was, I don't want to make too much of it. It's a good result for us, a needed result, a very steady performance, and now we have to do the same against Reading, because that will be another tough game for us.
On Reading, before the start of the season, a lot of people, I probably would have been included, that would look at the number of players they'd lost, the sort of turmoil there, and think that it could be a difficult season for them. And frankly, their start to the season, I think, has surprised a lot of people. Yeah,
but look at the table. I mean, I think the whole league is a surprise this year, somewhat. So, if anybody needs a reminder of how quickly things can change, you just have to look at the championship table to see sides who are at the top, how many games they've lost, and you know, it's just it's a more, even more competitive league than it normally is. So it's really important that we just stay focused on ourselves and make sure that we can affect ourselves and make sure that we again work with what we have to just improve our own chances of being successful. So I don't overthink it, to be honest with you. We are in a position at the moment where we're getting players back, and it creates more competition. Of course, what that means is there are going to be players who are even more disappointed if they don't get on the bench or they don't even travel, and that's something which actually is not a bad thing, because it tests their resolve as individuals to keep fighting and keep their standards high. So I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. I'd much rather have to make some tough decisions on selection than have to improvise.
I was going to ask about the general sort of ridiculous state of the championship and how close it is. I mean, it's never less than competitive any year, but it does seem especially close this year. Is there any reason behind that you can see?
No, is the honest answer. There's no point in me trying to think of an answer that sounds clever. I've got no idea. But my observations would always be that teams that come up from League One are always going to be relatively competitive, and they know what they're good at. They have momentum when they come up. The ones that come down, I think, from the Premier League probably have different pressures on them, and that is a weight of expectation which is sometimes difficult to deal with. So I'm not really bothered about them, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. And I just wanted one more thing on the on the fans. I think it's another good away following, as it often is at
it's
Reading,
really good.
And it's key that they absolutely seem behind the team no matter sort of what's happened this season.
Yeah, and that's the important thing, is that they stay behind their players, and but for them to do that, they must see, or rather, we must give them a level of commitment and desire that they can identify with. I think, if you've got a side that doesn't look bothered, then there's nothing worse than that. And I think our following, and bearing in mind, I wasn't even aware of our record at West Brom, that it was, the last win was so long ago. I mean, when they followed us there last season, and we had a difficult day last season, you know, and but it was a really good turnout. We had a tough day there. Reward for them, and it again, I really enjoy seeing the connection between the players and the fans. So that's really important, and we're thankful that they are supportive. Look, when criticism comes, you just got to deal with it, and one of the best ways to deal with it is by getting the type of response that we did. But it's, as the old adage goes, you're only as good as your last game. So it's always about now performing in the next game, and that's what we aim to do.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Average. The captain's armband's going to be shared among a few players in the last few games.
Yeah?
You've been a captain yourself. I want to see how you define the difference between a captain and a leader in the team.
Is it really important? Leaders lead whether they've got the armband or not. I don't think there's really a need for a generalisation of what my definition of a leader is. I think the leaders I would follow are people who have got the trust of the people around them. I think and there are lots of reluctant leaders, and there are natural leaders, and there are there's so many different types. I think it doesn't really matter too much. It's more about having a blend of personalities on the pitch who can deal with whatever needs to be dealt with, and you need followers. Let me tell you, you can't have everybody who wants to lead. You know, you need people who are not happy to follow, but will fulfil their roles. And so for me, the captain's armband, the players just pass it on to whoever they think should have it on. Good enough for me, that.
Just out of interest, what's a reluctant leader?
Well, somebody who's a good leader but doesn't really want it. People are going to follow a leader, whether that leader wants them to follow or not, at times, and I think that would be my definition of a real leader, is somebody who has an aura of people trust them and are prepared to back somebody they don't necessarily have to know particularly well.
It's bad. And Bentley, how's he reacted to being at the teams and how it was this half?
He's grumpy, but he wouldn't be anything else, will he? That's fine. But look, that type of thing doesn't. I wouldn't say it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me, and I don't worry about it, because the most important thing is what the team needs, and everybody. I try to at least. It's not always possible, but I try to at least apply the same selection criteria to whatever situation, and simple as that, really.
With Tom McCallum, what's the process about getting him match fit? Because
he's been out for a long time.
Yeah,
he's been out for a long time, and he's going to have to get used to how his knee feels. He's an interesting. You've heard me say many times. He's an interesting individual. He's a really. He enjoys being what he is, and that is a bit odd, but really, a good guy who is a committed player. You know, you don't have to question his commitment when he's on the pitch. But you don't find your timing immediately. Doesn't matter how experienced you are. And the type of injury that he's had, which is basically one that's developed over a long period of time, and he's had excessive football exposure through being an international and, you know, playing for, I've said it before, so I don't need to go over that again, but he's worked hard to get back, and it's good to have him available. And I even think against West Brom, when you look at the types of player that we had on the bench, we were able to use some real experience just to see the game through, really. I mean, the way that we ran the clock down as well was, I mean, in the past we've been guilty of throwing points away. I thought we did it really well. But Thomas will. Well, firstly, he's got to do enough to warrant being selected to start. And the three lads who were in there the other night, I thought all did really well.
I guess when a defender's coming back from a long-term injury, it's different to striking the midfielder in a way that you can throw them onto the last 30 minutes, but I guess in defence it's a bit more complicated because you don't really want to disrupt that back line. So,
well, it depends on what the game needs. I don't just throw somebody on for the sake of it. We introduce players because we think the team needs it. So Matty James the other night I thought was excellent, but we needed to change him late on just because he'd given everything he could, and so whether players are important or not, you've still got to try and make decisions that are good for the team, regardless of who it is. So last weekend, it would appear to put Thomas on was a good thing to do, but he's involved in the. You know, I mean, that happens. It happens. I don't judge people on that necessarily. It's just sometimes you make good calls, sometimes it can backfire. That's part of the job, I'm afraid.
How's the team news looking for Reading? Is Cam any closer?
Who's who?
Cam any closer?
No, he won't be available for this one. But yeah, he's making progress. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see whether when he's fit, everybody else is still fit. You know, it's all right speculating over what will happen when everybody's fit, but because of the nature of this league, it's very rare that actually happens. So, but he's making progress, and it would be great to have him available again.
Everyone else okay, apart from obviously?
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything different from the other night now. So we're fine on that one. Yeah.
One on Kane Wilson.
Yeah.
How's he doing on a more of a personal level, because he's been?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's knocked him back a bit. Of course, it has, because he came here with high expectations, and he was really having a good pre-season. So he's had to deal with not starting, and then when he's been able to get some appearances, to pick up an injury or to develop an injury, which is it's a lot more. He's going to be out longer than we all hoped he would be. Let's put it like that. But he'll have to deal with it, and we will help him to deal with that. So first and foremost, it's about making sure that the physical recovery is as good as it can be. Then, of course, he just needs the support, because every player is different. You know, their needs are all different. He's a really he's popular with the players. He's he's never far from the group of players who are laughing. So he'll be okay. We'll make sure he's okay, don't we?
Great to see Joe Williams on the score sheet in the week. Not many people have had him.
Yeah.
It's the first goal scorer on Cuban, but you did ask for more goals from midfield, and just playing with that kind of flat midfield three, does that allow one or two of them to take more risks in going forward? And
Not really, no, not really, because if you play it how we have done, that means Andy Weimann or whoever plays in the 10 position should be always breaking forward. But no, it's when you play with a flat three, it's just those three players are what you recognise midfield players. So yeah, I mean Joe's. If you remember last year, Joe's had a couple of attempts. He set up Andy Weimann's goal at Blackburn with a shot, which it's a good job Andy was there. Otherwise, it would have been probably going out for a throw-in. But no, he's capable of scoring goals. But the important thing for Joe, I think, more than anything, is his long-term prospects of being able to play back-to-back games. And he's never going to be he's not going to be in a situation where I can categorically say everything's going to be fine. I don't know, but he's worked hard to try and make sure he's more robust. And the staff have invested a lot of time in him, and he's invested more time in himself as well, which is what he needs to do.
Quick one finally from me about Hanno Masengo.
Yeah.
Played in the under-21s in the week.
Yeah.
He's still a very young man, and there's a lot of uncertainty over the summer about where he's going to be, where he's going to be.
Yeah.
How is he doing at the moment? With that appearance for the under-21s, so to keep him match fit or try and regain his form? Where do you see that at the moment?
Whatever you want it to be. I mean, he wasn't in the squad because I have to, and I've spoken to him this morning. We've had a good conversation this morning, and my view on him never changes. I like him, and all he said to me this morning was that he'll be ready when he's needed, which is great. But also, we both recognise that his intention is to maybe look elsewhere. So there's no point hiding from that. And what I have to do in the meantime is make sure that the players who are here for the longer haul get a fair deal as well. So there's nothing to hide with it. I've tried and be he's one of our players still, and wherever he's here, he'll get mine and our full support. But then there has to be a realism of how we look at what the bigger picture is, and we've got players here who have committed their futures to the club. So I think it's fair to say that those players are ahead of Hannover. But look, I would not think twice about including him, selecting him if we need him, and if a game suits. Yeah, I mean, absolutely no problem at all. There's, like I say, there's no secret. Okay.
With Andy Weimann, obviously, it was one of the first times I think he was a substitute in the tennis, and he's always started. And even with that, just being a substitute, is that perhaps a thing that we can get a reaction from him? Because obviously, maybe he's not hit the heights that he hit last season.
No, it's not about getting a reaction from him. It's a recognition of how much football he's played. He's broken back into the international side. He's in his 30s. He's played an awful lot of football over the last sort of 12, 15 months, whatever. So sometimes players just need a break from the firing line, if you like. So again, it's what the team needs, and also for Andy, I think Andy will benefit from it because he cares so much about his own performance and the team's performance that you know he's always going to be somebody who is very visible out there just because of the amount of work he gets through, and I'm delighted that he's our player. But on Tuesday night we felt it was the right decision to make and just give him a breather, and when he came on he was, as he always is, lively.
And Tim Close obviously had a bit of time out, but obviously played 3 games I think in what is 6 days. It seems that he's slotted in seamlessly like he did at the start of his Bristol City career.
Yeah, and Tim, I thought Tim along with everybody else the other night was good. I like him. He's an interesting character. Another one. We've got a few of them, but I like him. And he's been disappointed himself that he's either not been available fitness, and he's had some personal issues to deal with too. When you live in another country, it's quite a difficult thing to deal with. So he's fine. Tim's Tim, and I'm glad he is, and he's doing okay for us. I'm really pleased.
And another full video away from the away fans as well. Cost of living crisis to contend with, it just shows their loyalty to the club, because they're one of the teams that has to travel the furthest distance. Yeah, we've had they've had some real travels so far. I just hope we can continue to, or at least give them something to believe in, something that football supporters are an interesting breed. They're always going to follow their club, whether they like it or not, is one way of putting it. I don't mean it like that. But it's managers and players come and go, but football supporters are supporters for life. So I suppose it's one of the crosses that they have to bear is dealing with people like us. But we'll do our best to provide something that they both enjoy and believe in. Okay.
And just on the strikers this season, obviously they've all 4 been in really good form. I know Sam Bell mentioned him midweek with his 21s. He must be chomping at the bit. I know he's had his setbacks to get to the first team matchday squad.
Yeah, and he'll just have to wait a bit longer at the moment, and I think that's something which is I think quite satisfying for us as a club, where we do have realistic competition, and young players who are coming through are also very much involved in that. So we've got players in the likes of Chris, Naki, Andy, who are at one end of their career and are all fighting really hard and all have something very positive to bring the team. And then at the other end we've got the likes of Antoine, Tommy, Sam Bell, who are pushing them as well. So it's good to have a mix of styles. Got quite a bit of pace in there. We've got some physicality too. So at least we can play the way that we want to. That is with a pretty high intensity whenever we can with any of those players. So I'm pretty pleased.